Thank you very much, and thanks for having me. Before diving into the political and legal analysis of this situation, I think it's important to take a quick step back. 11,400 people have been killed in a single month in Israel and Palestine, and over 10,000 of them have been Palestinians. One of the problems with talking about killings on such a massive scale is that it's so easy to dehumanize people by referring to them only as numbers. It's genuinely hard to make sense of this scale of suffering. And when these numbers are thrown around, I think it's important to remember that each one of these people were loved by friends and families. They had past memories and future dreams. When politicians from across the world talk about Israel's unequivocal right to defend itself, or when they talk about how it's too early to call for a ceasefire, when they talk about the need to eradicate Hamas at all costs, they are not thinking of these people as human beings. Because if they truly were, if they had to look family members of those killed in the eyes as they said these words, they would simply not be able to say them. And this is precisely the issue. From behind shiny, waxed podiums, many in the international community are treating these people as political pawns rather than human beings. They make their speeches whilst the daily reality on the ground is bleak beyond belief. In the past month, Israel has conducted siege strategies of collective punishment against over 2 million people. It has undertaken the forcible transfer of over 1 million civilians from North Gaza, and it has bombarded civilians on an unimaginable scale. In the United Kingdom, we have a particularly unique relationship with Israel and Palestine. Talking about historical context is so often dismissed as being stuck in the past, but without looking backwards to acknowledge our role, we can't begin to move forward. The United Kingdom's colonial history in this region does mean that it has a lasting responsibility in relation to the current violence. And yet what we have seen in the past month has been a shirking of this responsibility by leading politicians in both the UK government and the opposition. Both the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition spoke about Israel's unequivocal right to defend itself in the days following the October 7th attack. The word unequivocal is so dangerous to use in this context, essentially handing a carte blanche to Israel to respond disproportionately. It is no wonder that since then, we have seen Israel commit war crimes, crimes against humanity, and indeed, potentially genocide. It has happened whilst the world has watched casually on. I'm hesitant to describe it as indifference because the word indifference almost undermines the active complicity of these actions by British politicians. But that is the reality of the situation. UK government complicity is clear and well established. The UK government is a long-standing provider of military support to Israel through UK arms exports. UK industry provides 15% of the components in the F-35 stealth combat aircraft that is being used to bombard Gaza as we speak. The contract for these components is estimated by the Campaigns Against Arms Trade to be worth £336 million since 2016. So the UK government case is clear, but as well as the action by the government, the language of the opposition has shown complicity too. Building on the Prime Minister's unequivocal support for Israel, Labour leader Keir Starmer refused to condemn the cutting off of water and electricity to an entire population of over 2 million people by saying, I think that Israel does have that right. He eventually backtracked and denied that he meant what he said. But unfortunately for him, there is video evidence of him saying it. One of the cruelest ironies about the UK's weak response is how simple the correct response actually is. Israel's systematic violations of the rights of Palestinians under international law is long-standing. They may have been particularly acute in this past month, but they have not come out of a vacuum. If the UK, and indeed other members of the international community, had called for an equal application of a rules-based accountability system to both Israelis and Palestinians entrenched in international humanitarian law, we would simply not be in this situation. Unfortunately, it has not. Time and time again, Israel has been singled out in the global order and uniquely exempted from accountability for its violations of international law. We saw this with the crime of apartheid across the occupied Palestinian territories, as evidenced in reports by the likes of Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. We saw this with the blockade of Gaza since 2007. And we are seeing it now with the daily war crimes and crimes against humanity that are taking place. With over 10,000 Palestinians killed in just 1 month, how many more must die before the international community takes a stand to protect these people's lives?